Well, hello, everyone. This is Wilson Cole. I'm president of Adams, Evans, and Ross and Backdoor Hires. I am joined by my lovely daughter, Samantha, and our general attorney, general counsel, and staff attorney, Samantha Cole. Samantha, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. College football's back, so you know that I'm
See, roll tide. For those that are watching this, Samantha is a Alabama grad. I'm originally from Alabama. My wife went to Alabama, and so we're Alabama fans, and we're still trying to recover from that Clemson beatdown. But the start of the new season is this weekend. So Samantha and I we're based out of Atlanta, and the Kickoff Classic is this year in downtown Atlanta. So we'll be at the game. So roll tide. Anyway, Sam, one thing I wanted to talk about, and a lot of times this is where I think people in your profession miss the point. And that is, you have to balance risk between being legally covered and actually getting the deal done. There is no doubt in my mind that a one-page contract, even with the 2 or 3 safeguards that we mentioned, isn't as good as if a client had a 10-page to 100-page contract that covered them, indemnified them in every imaginable aspect. But if somebody went in with a novel and said, okay, just sign here, they'd never close another deal. And so our clients aren't attorneys. Our clients, for the most part, are going to be heavy on the sales and marketing side, but very light on the legal administrative side. So with that in mind, what are 3 things that our client can do on those agreements, that understanding that it has to be in a very non-intimidating paragraph? What are the 3 things that you'd like to see in any agreement that our clients have?
I think 1, make sure that there's a possessory period.
Okay, and that's one thing that recruiting firms are great at doing. Staffing firms kind of suck at it, and they've got the same problem.
Exactly. And then make sure that it is clear throughout the document that you don't have contradicting, terms, because again, in that sales and marketing, you're like, oh, you want this? I'll change the contract. But you forget where things are throughout the contract. And so you may end up inadvertently voiding yourself.
Yep.
And then have a signature. It is so important. And I know it's get to the next deal. And even if, again, and I preach signatures, and I can get on a soapbox, and you can go find another video where I get on that soapbox. But if you're not going to do that, at least make sure you have some sort of written conversation, that whether it be emails back and forth or something, that everybody knew what the recruiter was doing or the staffing firm was doing. Because I can't tell you how many times I'll get something from a debtor's attorney and they're like, well, there was actually no discussion that they were ever expecting to be paid for this service.
Well, and that's the one thing I don't give clients the free pass on, well, we needed to get the deal done, we needed to get the contract signed. Now, I agree, you don't go in there with a novel, but there's just not a big enough why on needing to get that contract signed. One of the reasons why we always have to get a contract signed, and this is the underpinning of why we have to get a contract signed before we can collect for somebody. Part of it's because we want to have the terms and conditions. But the biggest reason is, if we don't have that contract signed to where those funds are coming into us, we could be accused of bank fraud, because those funds come into us, we pull out our fee, and we send them out. There's a big enough reason for us to always have that contract signed. for a recruiter, it's not a big enough reason. Staffing firms, it's not a big enough reason to a degree, but they're better at it because they're extending the payroll for that staffing firm. So in my opinion, it's almost a cop-out whenever our clients go, well, it's just too tough to get a contract signed. I've done this 30 years. We've never worked on a collection without there being a contract signed because there's a legality and a preference or a documentation that we have to go through. Staffing firms are much better at getting the timesheets or the engagement letter signed because they're actually cutting the payroll. Recruiters don't get them signed because they don't think it's important enough. And I can tell you, if I were doing the payroll for somebody that's, I'm extending 10 grand out, yeah, I'm going to be pretty careful on it. But with a recruiter that's waiting on a 30 or a 40 or a $50,000 fee, to not think that that's important enough not to get a contract signed is just ludicrous to me. So the three things is the possessory period, the signature,
and to make sure that everything's coherent throughout, that everybody's agreeing to the same terms. Because if you have the terms contradicting each other, it just creates a mess, and you might as well not have it.
I agree, and you have to be compliant on that. So.
Yes.
So the biggest thing is get a contract signed, make sure you get those three. If you have to go in with a 10-page contract, in my opinion, you probably are an overkill. If it can't fit on.
Or if you get a master service agreement back from your client that is 10 pages, have somebody look over it.
I can assure you on those master service agreements, if the client ever took a half a second to actually read them, it would scare them to death. That is I know we did a video on just some of the gotchas that we typically find in there, but on your agreement, I realize you've got to balance the sales, but you also have to balance the compliance. Samantha, on any closing discussions on this particular issue?
I think that's it. I think it's just get something out there so that they can't come back and say, oh, I thought this was out of the goodness of your heart you were presenting, John Smith.
There you go. And that sounds insanely crazy, but that is an argument.
I hear it twice a week.
You hear it twice a week. And the thing that makes it even crazier is there have been arguments that they made in front of a judge that the judge has sided with the debtor. So it's something that you definitely need to do is make sure you get a signed contract that has those key things. Sam, as always, thanks for joining me. I will see you this weekend. Roll Tide, and then next week we'll do our next session. Have a good afternoon, Sam.
Bye.